Events hard to believe. One man allegedly raping 4 young girls in just 3 months. Hard to believe that is unless you're one of the victims.
Tonight you'll hear the story of one of the 4 lives changed forever and get a closer look at not just a string of disturbing crimes, but a system unable to protect the vulnerable and stop an alleged predator. Here's Jack Heiberger.
They're pictures that span a lifetime, moments worth remembering.
Yeah, like I wish I could go back and be a kid again.
Childhood never comes with a date of expiration. It's only later that we know the moment it came to an end.
How often do you think about it?
Almost every day. It's been a nightmare.
14-year-old Jasmine Hansen did not imagine her nightmare would begin just a few miles from home.
So she would have come down
on a warm summer night.
Across the highway, down this hill.
Her mom, Melissa, knows the story all too well. Jasmine and a friend sneaking out, walking to a nearby Walmart where they would meet 2 men. One of them knew Jasmine's friend. The other, a man they'd both encountered on social media, 18-year-old Samaj Okungwu.
He was in the passenger seat and then his friend was driving. We got in the back and we went up to Burnsville.
And it's there at Okungwu's Burnsville home that court documents allege he began to force himself on Jasmine. First, using his hands, Jasmine pulling away.
And thinking that he'd get the vibe, I didn't want to do anything with him. A couple times after he did that, he flipped me onto my stomach and then took my pants off and then continued to rape me.
It would last about 10 seconds. Jasmine running for the door, her friend had already left. And as she walked out, final words she'll never forget.
He was like, "This didn't happen." And I was like...
But it did happen, investigators say, right here inside of one of these Burnsville townhomes. And as it turns out, Jasmine was not the first victim, and in fact, would not be the last. Court documents reveal a striking pattern. In May, just 34 days before Jasmine's encounter with Okungwu, he took a 13-year-old girl into his Burnsville home, where he would allegedly take off her clothes and rape her. The young victim would not come forward to police until months later. But in late June, Jasmine's mother had a feeling her daughter was not alone.
Too much about it that felt this had happened before. That he had hurt other people and he needed to be stopped.
On June 17th, just hours after Jasmine's rape, Okungwu was arrested by Burnsville police and days later charged with third-degree criminal sexual conduct. But his bail was only set at $1,500, a fraction of the bail amounts that would eventually follow. The conditions of his release not stopping him from being around underage girls.
Do you think about that a lot?
All the time. It hurts because I wish I could have saved them.
Melissa worried what might come next, but never imagined it would happen at a place like this.
It's like an accident. You see an accident happen. You don't plan on the accident, but it happens.
Don Van Kloppenberg is the manager of the Sandhill Lake Bible Camp located near Fosston, Minnesota. On their website, it's described as a place where the prairie meets the pine. But in late July, it was also a place where a man charged with rape met dozens of young girls. And on the night of July 28th, investigators allege camper Samaj Okungwu forced a 16-year-old girl onto a rock, pulled down her pants, and raped her.
What was the reason why Samaj was not arrested on the spot?
Like anything, we have to make sure that we have probable cause to make an arrest. And by the time we, I guess, got there, he had already been back to the cities.
Polk County Sergeant Mike Norland led the investigation. And by the time it was over, sheriff's deputies would learn there was not one victim, but 2. Court documents alleging on July 25th, Okungwu was also able to isolate a 15-year-old girl, pulling down her pants and sexually assaulting her.
Do you think adults in positions of influence like yourself could have done more to keep young women safe here?
Probably yes. But, you know, you think you're doing enough at the time, and then you find out maybe you weren't.
Neither Polk County investigators or Bible camp management say they knew at the time Samaj Okungwu was charged with rape. And it seemed, whether by accident or on purpose, Okungwu was learning how to evade the system.
The system is really not able to respond the way that it should, the way that these victims deserve. And so it's producing collateral damage.
At the Sexual Violence Center in Minneapolis, Kristen Sakura knows the names and faces the system often forgets. Stories easily lost in staggering statistics that show for every 100 rapes, only about 5 to 20 will ever be reported.
The people who are actually going to do that are brave, and that their bravery cannot be met with justice is just a very sad thing.
But for Samaj Okungwu, life was really anything but sad. The 2 alleged sexual assaults in Polk County had yet to catch up with him. And in August and September, he would spend his time right here at Itasca Community College, playing football and going to school. It would not be until September 28th, 2 months after the alleged Polk County sexual assaults, that a warrant for Okungwu's arrest would be issued. And it was about that time that his football stats came to an abrupt end. Okungwu kicked off the team on September 30th, but he would remain a student at Itasca Community College until November 1st. The school's provost telling Fox 9 Okungwu, quote, removed himself voluntarily. A decision that lines up with what happened just days earlier on October 31st, when allegations connected to the very first sexual assault in May triggered a 3rd warrant for his arrest.
Are all 4 of these women, in your mind, not telling the truth?
On his way out of Dakota County Court, Samaj Okungwu had nothing to tell us. By this time, he'd been arrested and bailed out 3 times.
Oh, it's so cold.
And in the long, cold walk back to his mother's car, there was plenty to consider. A sexual assault in June, 2 in July, and now another. The one that started it all back in May, now finally coming to light. And yet, here we were months later. Okungwu opening the door to freedom, buckling up, and driving away.
He doesn't deserve to be walking the streets. We don't know what he's doing.
We feel failed. We feel like the system has failed us.
Samaj Okungwu has so far pled not guilty to all charges in Dakota County. But for Melissa and Jasmine, the truth remains anything but innocent. Their reality is one full of questions that will no doubt last a lifetime.
I wish it didn't happen to any of us, but also, like, I wish I was the only one.
You feel like you should have been the last victim?
Yeah. And I hate that it happened to them, too.
Reporting in Hastings, Jack Heiberger, Fox 9.
Now, Samaj Okungwu has also pleaded not guilty to the charges in Polk County. Jasmine's case is scheduled to go to trial this April.